Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hacker Stacker channel. And in this video, I'm going to show you the spreadsheet that I use to keep track of my silver stack. This tells me where I'm at for each type of silver that I want to stack, how far along towards my goal I am, how many tubes I should have, what I've spent, what it's worth, and gives me my dollar cost average. This is not the actual spreadsheet I have on my phone. Two things I've done to it. First off, I've reformatted it to fit the 9x16 format of YouTube videos. And second, I've made up random numbers for my goal and on-hand quantities. There's also a lot of silver that is not listed on this particular spreadsheet because there are pieces of silver that I do stack that I consider part of my stack, but are niche bars, they're art bars, and those don't need to be in here. It just clogs up the system. It's getting too far into the weeds. So I'm going to simplify that by taking a lot of that out. The first thing you'll notice is $24.17 in the top left. That is the current spot price of silver at the time of making this video. That may not be the price that you have or the store has, but that's the number that I punch in because it shows up on my app on my phone, and that gives me a rough idea of the dollars that we'll get into later. The types of silver that I'm going to use in this spreadsheet, as an example, are constitutional or 90% or junk, whatever you want to call it, dimes, quarters, and halves. Sovereign coins, I stack maples, Britannias, kangaroos, Krugerrands, Philharmonics, and eagles. I also include 1 ounce and 10 ounce bars in my stack. The next column, the goal, is how many dimes, quarters, halves, and coins and bars do I want to stack? That is an arbitrary goal that I have created. So I want to have 5,000 dimes, 4,000 quarters, 3,600 halves. The next column in the orange is the quantity I actually have on hand. I have 2,861 dimes. I have 327 maples. I have 621 1 ounce bars. The next column is quantity per tube. The tubes that I use to stack my silver, each tube will only hold so many coins. And that number is represented by the quantity per tube. I can put 50 dimes in a tube, 40 dimes in a quarter. I can put 20 Krugerrands in a tube. I can have 20 1 ounce bars in a tube. The 10 ounce bars I do not keep in a tube, so that doesn't have a quantity per tube, nor does it have full tubes. The full tubes is simply a mathematical equation between my goal and the on-hand quantity, and it tells me how many full tubes of each particular type of silver that I have on hand. So if I were to get all my silver out, I would have 57 tubes of dimes. There would be a 58th that has dimes in it, because it is not an even multiple of 50. So I would have a tube that should have 11 dimes in there, a 58th tube with 11 dimes. There will be one more tube, usually somewhere, that has some of the silver in it, but it's not full. The meat and potatoes of this spreadsheet is the next column, starting with overall goal percent. This tells me that overall, by weight, I am 44.73% towards my goal of stacking 9,387 ounces of silver. And that's what it comes out to when you consider the weight of dimes, quarters, and halves. They don't come out to an even ounce no matter what you do, as well as the ounce that are in the sovereign coins and the bars. 9,387 is my goal. To date, what I have purchased has cost me, to date, $85,422.36. That has garnered me 4,198.81 troy ounces. Again, that is just an estimate because constitutional coins weigh a little bit less than their mint weight, but on the other hand, sovereign coins and bars generally sometimes will weigh slightly more than exactly 1 ounce. And I've actually experimented with this, and the two pretty much offset each other. So constitutional dimes, quarters, and halves, I am calculating at the mint weight. In other words, 0.07234 ounces per dime, 0.18084 ounces for quarters, and 0.36169 ounces per half, because even though they might be worn and weigh slightly less, I'm getting a little bit more silver based on the overages of the sovereign coins. I have eagles that will weigh 1.01 ounces. And again, these are all just estimates. The estimate to goal is 125,402, and that's simply the difference between my goal subtracted by what I have on hand and multiply that by the spot price. So if I had $125,402 today, I could go out and buy enough silver to pretty much fill my goal. And that just gives me an idea of how many dollars it's going to cost for me to get up to my goal based on today's spot price. That number will change if spot price changes. The next number is the current spot value. It's simply my total silver on hand multiplied by the spot value. So my melt weight on my current stack is $101,485.25. So if I were to go out and sell it today, I'd be looking at probably about $16,000 of profit in my stack. The final number in that column is $20.34, and that means that is my dollar cost average, and that is with the premium. That is not just the spot price. That is what I've actually paid with the premium on my silver. Again, this is not the actual number that I've paid. It's just a representative based on these random numbers that I've simply thrown up. The next columns that have the light blue background, that's my percent of goal for each one and how I shop by rank. My goal is to keep an even number of percentage per type of silver that I'm stacking. In other words, in real life, these numbers are not wildly variable like they are here. Like I said, I simply threw some random numbers in for gold and on hand, and this is what it returned. So by this, I am 57% towards my goal of filling my dimes. I'm only 28% on my goal for $half. And you can see by each one, I'm 31% on my way of getting 1 ounce bars. I'm 80% towards my goal on kangaroos. And this helps me keep track of it as I go purchase silver. But what I really look at when I'm out purchasing silver, either online or at a store, is the shop rank. Instead of going through the percent of gold each column to see where I'm the lowest, which type of silver do I have the least percentage of, I rank them with the simple rank function in Excel, and by this it tells me that the Krugerrands are the lowest. So if I were to go out to a store and buy silver, I would say, what do you have for silver Krugerrands? Now, they're kind of hard to find, and that's why the number is so low. So I'm always looking out for Krugerrands. But let's say the store doesn't have any. I said, well, what do you have for junk silver? Because $half is number 2. Let's say they've got some $half, but the bin's been pretty picked over. All that's left in there is old stuff or beat up stuff or well-worn stuff, and I turn my nose up at it. I prefer mine to shine. So I said, okay, do you have any 1 ounce bars? Well, the store I'm in doesn't carry 1 ounce bars. The only time they get them is when somebody comes in and sells them, and they go out the door pretty quick. But let's say they have Philharmonics. They have Philharmonics not only for sale, but they have Philharmonics on sale for $2 over spot. So that's what I'm going to get. Now, maybe they do have some Krugerrands, but their Krugerrands are $3.50 over spot. Am I going to buy the Krugerrands? Nope, I'm buying the Philharmonics because I'm saving $1.50 on the premium. So I'm going to buy 20 Krugerrands because I have $500 to spend. So when I get home, I'm going to change this to 217. And you can see that that's going to fill up a tube. That went from 12 to 13. Now I'm going to go over to a column, and it's off the screen because I don't want to show these numbers, but I'm going to enter in the cost of a Philharmonic at a $2 premium for 20 of them, and I'm going to add them into a column, and watch what happens to my total cost and average my dollar cost average. Do you see those change? Let me put that back. My cost went from 422 to 905. My average dollar price paid for ounce went from 20.25 to 20.36. Now, the shop rank doesn't look like it changed any. So I'm going to throw something else in there to make those numbers change. Let's say I want to buy 8 10-ounce bars because they have them and they're good shape and there's a good price. So I'm going to change this to 112. Now watch what happens to the shop rank when I do that. It goes to 7. That put me at 56%, which dropped quarters into number 6 place. Now I need to add the cost of those 8 bars into my column over here that you can't see, and that's going to be $2,093.60. And look what happened to my overall cost and my price per ounce. It's going up because silver costs more today than it used to in the past. This is how I use this spreadsheet to keep track of my costs, my stack, how much I have, how much I've spent, how much it's worth, how much money I have to spend to reach my goal, and my dollar cost average. Like I say, there's a lot more going on than what you see on the screen. Off to the right, I've got a lot of columns that are just nothing but formulas. It's pulling numbers off of this area of this spreadsheet, transferring them to another. I'm doing mathematical formulas and then dropping the results back into this part of the spreadsheet. But this gives you an idea of what I'm doing to keep track of my silver stack. If you want to do something like this, you're more than welcome to. If not, it's up to you. I'm just throwing this out for general information. So keep on stacking, and I'll see you in the next video.